At a dinner with his friends, my husband said, "I'm only with her out of pity." I stood up, smiled at him, and replied, "Don't worry, you won't have to pretend anymore." The next day I left without warning. A week later, I had 45 messages from him, none of which I answered. And what did I do afterward? I ensured a lifetime of regret for him. At a dinner with his friends, my husband said, "I'm only with her out of pity." Those words came out of his mouth as naturally as if he were asking for more salt. I was in the kitchen washing the dishes they had praised all night, my famous tiramisu, the chicken I had marinated since morning, the salad I had prepared so carefully. The laughter that followed was like knives, not nervous or uncomfortable laughter, but laughter of complicity, as if it were the funniest joke in the world. And there I was, with my hands submerged in soapy water, feeling my world crumble, plate by plate. The night had started so normally. Miguel had complained all the way there that he didn't feel like socializing, that he preferred to stay home watching Netflix, that why make so much effort for those people. But I insisted. We had been together for 5 years, and I barely knew his friends. I thought it was important, that it was the next step. How naive I was. While I was getting ready that afternoon, he had sighed from the bed as if accompanying me was a huge burden. "Do we really have to go?" he had asked for the 5th time. I had put on my favorite blue dress, the one he always said looked good on me. This time, he didn't even notice. In the car, it was worse. Absolute silence. When I tried to make conversation about work, about our weekend plans, about anything, his answers were monosyllabic. Yes, no, maybe. As if talking to me was a monumental effort. But when we arrived, everything changed. Miguel transformed. Smiles, jokes, funny stories he had never told me. It was like seeing a stranger wearing my boyfriend's face. His friends were nice. They made me feel welcome. Laura complimented my dress. Carlos asked about my work. Everyone praised the tiramisu. For a moment, I thought I had been paranoid, that maybe Miguel was just nervous about mixing his life with mine, with his friends, that maybe everything was going to be okay. But then Laura suggested we have more wine, and I offered to wash the dishes while she fetched it. It was my mistake, or perhaps my luck, because it was at that moment, with my hands submerged in soapy water and the background noise of clinking dishes, that I heard the conversation that changed everything. "Hey Miguel, your girlfriend is really hot," Pedri had said, with that slurred voice he gets when he's had too much to drink. "How did you manage to win her over?" I waited for the defensive response, the compliment towards me, something that showed a minimum of respect for our 5-year relationship. Instead, I heard, "I'm only with her out of pity." The laughter that followed echoed throughout the house. Pedri laughing so hard he was choking, Laura giggling like a schoolgirl, everyone celebrating the biggest humiliation of my life, as if it were the comedy show of the year. "No, Miguel, you bastard," Pedri had said between laughs. But seriously, out of pity. "You know how Miguel is," he continued, now more confident, fueled by the laughter. 5 years together, she's become very dependent. It would be cruel to break her heart just like that. Besides, she cooks well and keeps the house clean. My reflection in the window above the sink looked back at me, pale face, wide eyes, mouth slightly open. I looked like a woman about to drown, and maybe I was. I turned off the faucet. The sudden silence made the conversation stop abruptly. I heard quick whispers, the sound of chairs moving. When I returned to the dining room with the best smile I could fake, everyone was talking animatedly about soccer. Miguel looked at me, and for a second, I saw something in his eyes. Panic, guilt. But it disappeared so quickly that I thought I had imagined it. I sat down and waited. I waited for the perfect moment. I waited for them to let their guard down. I waited for Miguel to make one of his jokes, for everyone to be laughing and relaxed. And then, in the middle of an anecdote about his work, I interrupted him. "Miguel," I said, in the sweetest voice I could muster. The whole table looked at me. "Don't worry, you won't have to pretend anymore." The silence was absolute. Miguel was left with his mouth open mid-word. Carlos stopped laughing so abruptly that he coughed. Laura looked confused, looking between us as if trying to decipher a code. "What?" was all Miguel managed to say. I stood up slowly, took my bag, and headed for the door. "Thank you for dinner, Laura. The wine was delicious." "Wait, what's going on?" Miguel had also stood up, with that expression I knew well, that "fix this without making a scene" face. I turned to him one last time. "Have a good night, explaining to your friends how you're going to get home." I left that house with my head held high, but as soon as I closed the Uber door, something broke inside me. I didn't cry, I didn't scream. A cold fury had taken complete control. 5 years. 5 years being his emotional servant, his comfort, his act of charity. 5 years where every time I felt insecure, he assured me that I was imagining things. It turns out I was right from the beginning. The driver asked me if I was okay. "Perfectly," I replied, and for the first time in years, it was true. On the way home, my phone didn't stop ringing. Miguel, Miguel, Miguel. I put it on silent. Whatever he had to say didn't matter to me anymore. The words that had come out of his mouth that night had been like an exorcism. I finally saw the relationship for what it was. When I got home, I sat in the car for another 10 minutes. Not out of sadness, but out of clarity. It was as if I had been living in a thick fog for 5 years and suddenly someone had turned on all the lights. I went into the house and poured myself a glass of wine, the same wine I had bought to celebrate our 5 years last month. Miguel had arrived late that night too. "Problems at work," he had said. Now I wondered who he had really been with. My phone vibrated again. This time it was a message. "Where the hell are you? You left me stranded here like, not even a sorry." Oh, only anger because his personal transportation had decided to have dignity. I turned off my phone and went to bed, but not to sleep, to plan. Because if Miguel thought I was going to continue being his act of charity, he was very wrong. He was going to need the pity. At 6 in the morning, Miguel arrived in an Uber that surely cost him a fortune. I was already awake, drinking coffee and watching the news like any normal day, as if my world hadn't completely changed 12 hours earlier. He came in making noise on purpose, slamming the door, throwing the keys on the table, his childish way of showing he was upset. "Are you seriously going to give me drama over some bullshit I said while drunk?" was the first thing that came out of his mouth. Not good morning, not sorry, not even an acknowledgement that he had messed up. "Good morning, Miguel," I replied without turning to look at him. "Do you want coffee?" That unnerved him. He had arrived prepared for a fight, and I was offering him breakfast. Yeah, okay." He sat at the table, still cautious. "Look, about last night, it was, you know how I get when I drink too much." I said while pouring him his coffee with 2 sugars and a splash of milk, just how he'd liked it for the past 5 years. "And how do you get, exactly? How do you get when you drink too much?" I looked him straight in the eye. "Do you get honest?" He shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "I get stupid. I say things I don't mean." I took a sip of my coffee. "So, you don't think you're with me out of love?" The silence stretched so long that I could hear the kitchen clock ticking. Miguel scratched the back of his neck, looked towards the window, towards his coffee, towards anywhere but me. "It's complicated," he finally said. "No, Miguel. What's complicated is pretending for 5 years that you care about someone when in reality they are your personal act of charity." I stood up and put my cup in the sink. "I'm going to make things easier for you. You won't have to pretend anymore." "What does that mean?" "It means I'm leaving." "What do you mean you're leaving? Where?" The question was genuine, as if the idea that I had an independent life was completely impossible for him, as if I only existed in function of our relationship. "To live my life, Miguel. That thing I stopped doing 5 years ago." He stood up abruptly. "You're being very dramatic. It was just a stupid joke between friends." "A joke?" I laughed, but there was nothing funny about it. "Miguel, you compared me to a maid. You said you keep me out of pity." Your friends laughed because they all know it's true. They don't know anything. "Then tell me, When was the last time you introduced me as your girlfriend and not as my friend? When was the last time you posted a picture with me on social media? When was the last time you invited me to something important without me having to ask you? Each question was a slap, and he knew it. His face was getting redder with each one. That's different. I'm more private. No, Miguel, you're private with me. With the others you have no problem. Which others? The ones on your social media, the ones you go out with on Fridays that are just from work, the ones who call your phone and you go out on the balcony to answer. He remained silent. He was finally seeing that I wasn't as stupid as he thought. I went to the closet and took out the suitcase I had packed while he slept off his drunkenness. Just the essentials, clothes, documents, the things that were really mine. The rest could stay with him. It was just scenery from a play that had ended. Seriously? Are you going to leave because of this? I'm not leaving because of what you said last night, Miguel. I'm leaving because of the 5 years I wasted believing that what we had was real. I dragged the suitcase to the living room. He followed me like a scared puppy. And what am I supposed to do? Live alone here? I guess you're going to have to learn. Learn what? And that's when I really understood how dependent he was on me. He didn't know how to live alone. In 5 years, he had never paid a utility bill, never made a doctor's appointment, never even bought toilet paper. I took care of everything, and he hadn't even noticed. Learn to live, Miguel, like adults. I left the apartment keys on the dining room table. Next to them, I placed a letter I had written in the early morning, short and to the point. Miguel, you no longer have to stay with me out of pity. I don't either. The bills are in the kitchen drawer. The Wi-Fi expires on the 15th. Good luck. Anna, wait. Can we fix this? I turned around one last time before opening the door. He was standing there in his pajamas, disheveled, with a look of not understanding what the hell was going on, like a lost child in the supermarket. For a second I felt pity, then I remembered his laughter from the night before. Goodbye, Miguel. I closed the door and waited for the elevator. Behind me, I could hear him shouting my name, but his voice faded until it became a distant echo. In the lobby, I ran into Dona Carmen, the concierge who always greeted me warmly. She noticed my suitcase immediately. Going on a trip, my dear? Something like that, I smiled. A very long trip. The Uber arrived in 5 minutes. I gave the driver the address of the hotel where I would stay while looking for an apartment. As we drove away, I looked at the building where I had lived for the last 3 years. In the window of the 6th floor, I could see Miguel's silhouette, still in the same position where I had left him. My phone started to ring. Miguel. I put it on airplane mode. For the first time in years, the silence felt like freedom. At the hotel, I registered under my full name, Ana Patricia Mendoza. Not Miguel's girlfriend, not the Ana who cooks well, just me. I sat on the single bed and took out my laptop. I had work to do, a life to rebuild, and a call I had been postponing for months. I dialed my boss's number. Hello, Roberto. It's Ana. Is the regional manager position you offered me still available? Ana. What a surprise. Yes, of course, but you told me you couldn't because of your personal situation. My personal situation has just changed. When can I start? When I hung up, I smiled for the first time in weeks. The position included relocation to Guadalajara, a 40% salary increase, and the opportunity to manage my own team, everything I had rejected for not abandoning Miguel. I turned on my phone just to see the messages. 23 missed calls, 45 messages. I read them all without replying to any. Message 1. Ana, answer the phone. Message 15. Okay, I get it, you're mad, but don't exaggerate. Message 28. How do I pay the internet? Message 35. Ana, please come back, we can talk. Message 45. I don't know where you keep the clean towels. And there it was, the perfect progression, from arrogance to panic to practical desperation. It turns out that when you remove the emotional, logistical, and domestic support that a person took for granted, they realize very quickly how lost they are. I turned off my phone again and took a long bath. Tomorrow I would start my new life. Tonight, I just wanted to enjoy the silence. For the first time in 5 years, no one was going to come demanding that I heat up their dinner. 6 weeks later, Miguel showed up at my work. I was in a budget meeting when my assistant knocked on the door. Anna, sorry to interrupt, but there is a gentleman who says he is your husband and that he needs to talk to you urgently. Everyone in the room looked at me. Roberto, my new boss, raised an eyebrow. Everything okay, Anna? Yes, perfect. Give me 5 minutes. I left the room, and there was Miguel, in the lobby of my new office, disheveled, with the same shirt he had worn for 2 days straight, judging by the smell, and that desperate look I had learned to recognize in his messages. Anna, thank God. I need us to talk. Miguel, I'm working. You can't show up here like this. It's because you don't answer my phone calls, you don't answer messages, you disappeared completely. That was the idea. But we need to fix this. I looked at him closely. He had lost weight, had dark circles under his eyes, and his beard was uneven, like when he shaved without a mirror. When was the last time you ate something that wasn't pizza or Chinese food? He remained silent. When was the last time you washed your clothes? More silence. Miguel, you're 32 years old. You are not my responsibility. It's just that I don't know how to do the things you did. YouTube exists. Google exists. Normal adults learn. Anna, please come home. I don't have a home with you, Miguel. You have an apartment. I have my new life. New life. For the first time, he really noticed where we were. The modern offices, my manager's badge, my new clothes. What is all this? This is my job, the promotion I turned down 3 times so as not to leave you alone. His face changed, as if he was finally processing that I had had options all this time. But when? When I realized that I wasn't your priority. I decided to be my own. Roberto came out of the meeting room. Anna, do you need me to call security? Miguel straightened up, offended. I'm not a stalker. I'm her boyfriend. I corrected him. Ex-boyfriend. Anna, we can't end like this. 5 years can't end because of some stupid thing I said while drunk. You're right, I said. 5 years can't end because of one night. They ended because of 1,825 days where you made me feel like I was a burden. Roberto approached discreetly. Miguel noticed him and, for the first time in weeks, seemed to remember he was in public. Can we talk in private at least? Miguel, I have a life, work, responsibilities, commitments. I can't drop everything every time you need something. Just 5 minutes. I looked at my watch. The meeting could wait 5 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes. In the cafeteria downstairs. In the elevator, we didn't speak. Miguel looked lost, as if he were in a foreign country where he didn't speak the language. When we got to the cafeteria, he ordered a black coffee. I already had mine. Anna, the last few days have been hell. Why? Because you're not there. I was there for 5 years, Miguel. 5 years where I was apparently invisible. You weren't invisible. Then why were your friends surprised when you told them we lived together? Why didn't your mother know my last name after 3 years? Why did you never invite me to office dinners? That's different. No, Miguel, that's exactly the same. I was convenient. I was there when you needed me, and I disappeared when you didn't. He put his hands to his face. I didn't know you felt that way. Because you never asked. And now what? You don't feel anything for me anymore. That question hurt me because yes, I did feel something. 5 years don't just disappear overnight. But what I felt wasn't love anymore. It was pity. The irony was delicious. Miguel, I'll be honest with you, I do feel something for you. His eyes lit up. I feel pity. And they went out. Pity for the 32-year-old man who doesn't know how to wash his dishes. Pity for someone who is so used to others solving his life that he doesn't know how to function alone. Pity for someone who confused comfort with love for so long that now he doesn't recognize the difference. Anna, but the difference between you and me is that I'm not going to stay with you out of pity. I'm going to stay with myself out of self-love. I got up from the table. Time's up. Anna, wait. What if I go to therapy? What if I change? Miguel, do you know what the problem is with that question? What? That you're asking me. You should be asking yourself. I returned to my office. Roberto was waiting for me with an understanding smile. Everything okay? Perfect. Where were we with the Q4 budget? That night, in my new apartment in Guadalajara, I prepared a dinner for one, pasta with pesto, a glass of white wine, music I liked. For the first time in years, dining alone felt like a luxury, not a punishment. My phone rang. It was my sister, Carmen. How's the move going? Wonderfully. My new furniture arrives tomorrow. And Miguel? What about him? Is he still looking for you? Yes, but less and less. I think he's finally understanding. Understanding what? That pity isn't love, and that love isn't pity. After hanging up, I checked my social media, something I had stopped doing for years, because Miguel always had some comment about what I posted. I had a friend request from Pedri. I rejected it immediately, but curiosity got the better of me, and I checked his profile. In his latest photo, he was with Miguel in a bar, both looking terrible. The caption read, "When your wingman is going through a rough patch." Even at his worst, Miguel was still the joke of his friends. I closed the app and went to sleep. Tomorrow, I had an important presentation with clients from Monterrey. My new life was full of plans, projects, things that excited me. 3 months later, I received a message from Laura, the hostess of that disastrous dinner. Hi Anna, I know it's weird that I'm writing to you, but I wanted to apologize for what happened at my house. It wasn't right that we laughed. Miguel told us that you broke up. Well, I wanted you to know that I always thought you were too good for him. I replied, "Thanks, Laura. I thought so too. It just took me 5 years to realize it." That same week, my mom called me. "Anna, your cousin saw Miguel at the supermarket. He says he looks very bad." "What a pity," I said, and this time I meant it. "Don't you feel bad, Mommy?" For 5 years, I felt all the pity in the world trying to be enough for someone who saw me as a favor. Now I feel pity for myself, but in the right way. How's that? I feel pity for having taken so long to value myself. When I hung up, I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror. The woman who looked back at me had bright eyes, a genuine smile, and that confidence that only comes from knowing you can count on yourself. For the first time in years, I liked what I saw.